Thanks so much for your time today. I'm really interested. You've come all the way from Santa Fe, and I'm really interested in the ecosystem down there because I don't know anything about it.
I would love to tell you about it. We're the high desert, so it is a much smaller venture capital market. We've got an active angel group there. There's a lot of high-tech development through the national labs. But I think, in contrast to some of the more developed markets like Boulder to the north, is a very lively, vibrant venture and angel scene. Santa Fe and Albuquerque, I have to include both of them, are more, it's a small environment. I have a database of all of the entrepreneurs. I know them all. And we look at their projects. So it's a much smaller environment, but there's some really heavy-duty tech that's being developed there out of the labs. I think I would invite entrepreneurs who want to deal with the hardcore tech to come out and look at some of that, see if they can develop it.
So tell me about your firm and about your domain experience, what you love to invest in.
Sure. Moksa Ventures is founded on the idea of the importance of integrating design with technology. If you contrast today's venture investing market, and I'm going to leave aside heavy-duty tech like building rockets, quantum computing, things where there's less of a human element and it's more about advanced materials or something. But if you look at any of the businesses that have a heavy-duty human element, not just consumer, it's now become very low cost to produce those. The technology's pretty much developed. We're building out business models that don't take a lot to test and try the idea. There's the whole app ecosystem at one extreme. For 100K you can test an idea. But now for something in the low millions, you can test a new retail concept. You can test a new enterprise software concept where that used to take tens of millions to develop. So I think that's changed it a lot. What I'm focused on is what I call the game layer. And this is, I'm going to borrow Seth Prebish's term from a 2010 TED Talk. Digital layer, we connected up all the computers, got the data swapping around. Social layer, which happened about in this last decade, we connect up all the people, swap the information around. The game layer is the set of technologies and interfaces and mechanisms that enable all of that to work together to accomplish things. So a game is nothing but a goal, some rules, some feedback, and voluntary participation. So think about that. That can apply to education, digital health, employee motivation, crowdsourced anything, distributed labor platforms. It's the mechanisms and technologies of enabling people to work together to do things. And if you go out and look at AngelList or Gust or whatever your source, and talk to the universities, there are so many entrepreneurs working on ideas in these spaces. And I love them because they're capital efficient. I'm a small fund, so gotta love that. And you can test out ideas on a very small amount of capital and see if it's going to get legs.
Wow.
So that's kind of my thing, capital
really
efficient, early stage.
Thank you, thank you. And I'm asking a lot of the VCs here how they're feeling about the changes that are happening in the venture industry, because I know the Jobs Act has sort of triggered a lot last year, and but even some of the big firms you probably saw in the press recently, some big sort of heartrending stories about changes that are going on, and obviously with change there's a lot of opportunity, and it's not just the difficulties. So I'm just wondering how you're viewing it, particularly from the standpoint of Santa Fe and your fund, and what we can do to ensure that the venture industry really moves forward in a really positive way.
Mm-hmm. I have to admit that I sort of see myself on that borderline between the angels and the traditional venture industry. Because the traditional venture industry, as you've alluded to, has moved later stage, bigger checks. It's really hard to get the institutional VCs in on some of the early stage investments. Many of the angels are stepping in to fill that breach. I think there's still a gap. There's kind of a thundering herd of early stage entrepreneurs who've been funded who will not make it through that next stage funnel. And I think there's going to be some sobbing and crying going up in the universe in the very near future. And I'm supportive of the crowdfunding concept because I think we've seen it on the donor side be hugely successful, where you can get market feedback. Is this idea going to fly or not? From the donor funding side. The equity side, there's so many slimy people out there. I want to protect the smaller investors, so I hope they write the regulations very, very, very carefully.
Yes.
Because I think it's great to have community support for the smaller ideas that are never going to merit angel or venture investment, but are worthy businesses. I think that's a great fit for it. But I worry about some of the gold rush mentality. People are springing up already, and the regulations aren't even written to separate people from their money in ways that are not healthy.
Yes. And do you think that there'll be positive changes come out of it for the venture industry, the mainstay? Obviously, you've got a little perspective that's sort of in the middle, and you're not being directly affected.
I'm not one of the big VC firms, so I'm less concerned about their interests.
But you obviously have a point of
view on it. I think there are many quality deals that get overlooked because of the blinders and the sectors that some of the traditional VCs focus on. And so it can be positive for the ecosystem, and that some of those overlooked ideas might get a chance to get a little more developed. So that would be a positive thing. And then when they grow big enough, the big VCs can take care of them. I think I don't see it as threatening to the VCs. Their position in the ecosystem is fairly solid. I worry about the disappointed entrepreneurs and early stage investors who do not have the sophistication to understand that they're not going to make it to that next stage. That's where I'm concerned. I'm not so much worried about the VCs. They'll take care of themselves.
Plenty of money often helps, doesn't it?
I am a good evil VC and all of that, but I think the pain and the carnage will be more on the early stage investor side.
Point taken. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for your time. I really appreciate you reaching out.